The president refuses to lead on this from my perspective.
Republicans have failed to move on it.
It seems to me that the president, which my Republican friends often call upon to act, in this case is, I hope, will act.
We're not going to have the trust and the confidence of the American people that we can address this problem on the legal immigration side if we don't fix illegal immigration.
The back and forth on the border crisis continued on the Sunday shows just days after Congress left D.C. without any concrete plans on how to move forward. But as lawmakers are back home in their districts, the big questions now center around what executive actions the president may take to deal with the problem on his own, and what impact will the immigration issue have on the midterm elections. I want to frame the debate today with MSNBC contributor Victoria De Francesco Soto and Alfonso Aguilar, Executive Director of the Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles. Thank you both for being with us this morning. And Victoria, I want to start with you. The White House is saying any action the president takes will be unveiled at the end of the summer. How much of this is political calculus?
There is obviously a political element, Jose, but also enough is enough. We have been waiting for movement on immigration reform, not just in the past 3-4 years, but since 2000, when we saw talk of comprehensive immigration reform. The question is, what type of reform is that going to be? Because even though Democrats do support immigration reform, those Democrats in, say, toss-up districts need to be careful that what the president proposes isn't seen as overreach. So what I'm guessing we're going to see, and I'm being a little cautious here, is that we're going to see perhaps an extension of DACA. Even though Republicans are full out against DACA, we are going to see this program being posited as one that worked and one that needs to be extended.
And by the way, one that is paid for by the people paying the fines and the cost to get into DACA. And when you're saying an expansion of DACA, are you thinking maybe the parents of DACA children would also receive some form of DACA?
I do. I think it's the parents, and I also think that perhaps the time frame might be extended. So perhaps people who came here 2 or 3 years before the deadline that was set before. So we're not going to see, obviously, a 180, but I do think that we're going to see movement in the margins. Latinos want more, but we also know that with the Republican Congress, we're not going to get what we ultimately want.
And Alfonso, in their own autopsy following the 2012 presidential elections, Republicans said this: we must embrace and champion comprehensive immigration reform. Comprehensive immigration reform. If we do not, it says, our party's appeal will continue to shrink to its core constituencies only. So now that Congress has shown that this year they're not going to deal with any form of immigration reform, what impact do you think it's going to have on the Republicans in the future?
Well, I think not a very positive one. I don't think it's going to have an immediate effect in 2014, because I don't think in the midterms the Hispanic vote is going to be that decisive. But I think in 2016 it would definitely have an impact. If Republicans cannot lead on immigration, they're not going to get enough Latino voter support to win back the White House. Look, I understand if they didn't want to take up the Senate bill. The Senate bill was there were many problems with that bill, but they should have proposed their own legislation, and they didn't. And now they passed on Friday 2 bills that frankly send a very negative message to the Hispanic community. So it's really unfortunate, but this puts pressure on Republicans that if they win the Senate, and it's very possible, in the midterms, they're going to have to do something constructive in 2015 that includes some form of legalization if they want to win back the White House.
And let's talk about that Senate bill, Victoria, because Senator Marco Rubio got into a bit of a heated exchange with Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace yesterday on his stance on immigration and that bill.
If I may, sir, if it's not political, why have you flipped?
That's not accurate, Chris.
But you're now saying it has to be done in stages before you wanted a comprehensive plan.
Well, we're not, but I think we're talking about 2 separate things. No, we're talking about 2 separate things. We're not talking about what to do. I've just outlined to you what to do. We have to do those 3 things: security, reform of modernizing the legal system, and then address the people that are here. So we're not debating what to do. We're debating how to do it.
And Victoria, does the fact that the midterms not necessarily need the overwhelming Latino vote for this November's election, does that show that the Republicans simply are willing to take their time and not have to, take a bite at this very complicated apple before 2016?
It's the short-term versus the long-term goals.
Yeah.
I think that many Republicans have memories of that long, hot summer of 2010 when you saw all of that anti-immigrant anger at the town hall meetings. So I think this is why you see people like Marco Rubio being very cautious, because they know in 2014 the Republican voters are going to reject comprehensive immigration reform. But he also has his eye on 2016, and he knows that in broadening the electorate, that having a more open immigration stance would be favorable. But there's a caveat, because there are some in the GOP who've just staked their ground and said, I'm not going to budge on immigration. And I'm talking about my home state governor of Rick Perry. He has decided to make this his marquee issue. So even though the GOP should technically move to the middle on immigration in the long term, we're not necessarily going to see that, at least in the primary season.
And Alfonso, you know, I remember Mitt Romney during the primaries say that his immigration reform solution was that the 11 million people who were here just self-deported, and then he tried to change the conversation in the general election. But people have memory, and words matter, Alfonso. What would you say to the Republicans who think that what they do today won't have an impact in 2016?
No, Hispanics are listening, but I would disagree with Victoria that I think this primary, the upcoming primary, and the rhetoric during the primary is going to be very different than 4 years ago. I think even in Governor Perry, while he's talking specifically about the border and doing something at the border, he very much supports creating a guest worker program that would include some form of legalization. Look, if Republicans win, because both parties have used this issue politically, as political football. If Republicans win the Senate and they propose a market-oriented guest worker program that includes a form of legalization, would Democrats support that? I'm not so sure. So we will see the colors of Democrats, and we will see if they really want to use this issue politically. So let's wait before we start saying that Republicans are not going to do anything on immigration. I think that we have to separate also the issue of immigration reform from the issue of the border and then unaccompanied minors entering through the border. Those are two different issues. We passed the Senate bill, and we would have still had the situation of unaccompanied minors entering through the southern border.
Right, but we'll never know the answer to that question, at least this legislative session, because they didn't even allow a vote on any version of anything on immigration reform this year so far. Alfonso Aguilar and Victoria de Francesco Soto, thank you both for being with us. A fascinating conversation, and I hope to continue it with both of you in the near future.